Irma and her husband were at the end of their rope. If not for the financial assistance and love of Westside Homeless Partnership in Spring Branch, they would be homeless. Westside Homeless Partnership accepted them into their long-term program and helped them find housing, and then later helped Irma find a job. And they were on the road to starting over. But when you start with absolutely nothing in a sprawling urban area, getting housing and a job is the first hurdle. The next big step is getting there. Transportation is a basic ingredient for quality of life indicators such as health, education, employment, economic development, access to municipal services, residential mobility, and environmental quality. And as such, transportation is a social justice issue and a human rights issue. And I know there are a lot of other social justice issues, but you'll find out a little bit more about why this one is near and dear to my heart. And that's where Chain Reaction Ministries comes in. We take in bicycles of any type in any condition, and we find them owners in urban areas that are starting their lives over. We partner with charities working on addressing the needs of the homelessness. They do what they do well. They help their clients find housing and jobs, but that's the first hurdle. And the simple gift of a bike can change their life. This morning I'm going to share with you the evolution and transformational outreach potential of Chain Reaction Ministries, signs from God along the way of my journey in faith, and leave you with questions, not answers, about what outreach means to you. Let us pray. Dear loving and gracious God, we know you speak to us through your word. Before I read your word, help us remember that we go to it not looking for our own ideas, but we go searching for yours. And we can only take a little bit at a time because your word is so vast with guidance and wisdom, and because we can only see and hear a few of the signs and guideposts that you've placed there for us. But we know they're there. As I open my eyes and I read today's scripture, show us the messages that you know our hearts need right here, right now. Amen. Our reading is from 1 Samuel 3, verses 1 through 10, and it's from the version called The Message. So you can read in your Pew Bible, just know that some of the language is a little bit different. Here's the word of the Lord. The boy Samuel was serving God under Eli's direction. This was at a time when the revelation of God was hardly or rarely seen or heard. One night Eli was sound asleep. His eyesight was very bad. He could hardly see. It was well before dawn. The sanctuary lamp was still burning. Samuel was still in bed in the temple of God, where the chest of God rested. Then God called out, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel answered, "Yes, I'm here." Then he ran to Eli, saying, "I heard you call. Here I am." Eli said, "I didn't call you. Go back to bed." And so he did. God called again, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel got up and went to Eli. "I heard you call. Here I am." Again Eli said, "Son, I didn't call you. Go back to bed." This all happened before Samuel knew God for himself. It was before the revelation of God had been given to him personally. God called again, "Samuel," the third time. Yet again Samuel got up and went to Eli. "Yes, I heard you call. Here I am." That's when it dawned on Eli that God was calling the boy. So Eli directed Samuel, "Go back and lie down. If the voice calls again, say, 'Speak, God. I'm your servant, ready to listen.'" Samuel returned to his bed. Then God came and stood before him exactly as before, calling out, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel answered, "Speak, I'm your servant, ready to listen." This is the word of God for the people of God. In this story, Samuel was serving God under his elder Eli's direction. As Samuel was learning to trust in God under Eli's tutelage, I thought it interesting that it takes Eli 3 times to realize that God is really there with him and trying to get his attention. I mean, Eli is his elder. Eli is a wise man of God who has many years of disciplined service to God. Eli was Samuel's advisor along his journey in faith, who helped him to grow and to share God's love, eventually teaching Samuel how to listen for God. And after this passage, the story continues, and Samuel grows in his faith, and the people of Israel know that Samuel is a man that they could trust and to speak God's words. People all over Israel respected Samuel. And for a while, Israel lived in peace. Samuel helped them to remember to listen to God. December 5th, 2009, I received a call from the senior minister at the Memorial Drive Christian Church about a family under the care of Westside Homeless Partnership. The family had 4 boys, ages 5 through 12, whose Christmas wish, the only Christmas wish, were used bikes. Oftentimes churches will do mission projects around Christmas, and they'll adopt families and help provide for them to provide a real meaningful Christmas for them. My son had just outgrown his starter bike, and over a year prior, the bike just sat in the garage collecting dust, unused. I got it down, and I cleaned it up, and I fixed it, and I called the senior minister back at the time to let him know that I had a bike that we could give to the family. All they wanted were used bikes. And after a very long, almost Captain Kirk pregnant pause on the other end of the phone, he explained that through the generosity of the church, somebody had given $500 and they had bought them all new bikes. So I was left with a perfectly good bike and the burning question of what can I give? With all the blessings of my life, the gift of my life, and knowing that I can never repay that gift, the best I can do is pay it forward. I thought a lot about that bike, that family, their need, my weird need to hang on to my son's first bike, simply collecting dust in the garage. And what can I give? I can't be the only one with a bike in the garage and that I refuse to go give to a faceless charity who just is going to go put it on the thrift store floor and resell it. I mean, I can sell it myself, but why? So I created a simple email to 40 of my friends who live in my neighborhood downtown where I worked. And I got a commitment for 12 bikes. So I fixed 5 of them. And on December 21st, 2009, I delivered 5 bikes to Westside Homeless Partnership. I had paid it forward. My little parachute mission was done. But I'm standing before you today because obviously that wasn't the end of the story. The real story was the final link in the chain in what has become Chain Reaction Ministries. It's the cornerstone of this effort. And it arrived in my email box in March, so 3 months later. And it was the story, it was Irma's story. Two adult mountain bikes went to Irma and her husband. Westside Homeless Partnership helped her find shelter and then helped her do job training and got her employed at Spring Branch Medical Center. She lived a little less than 5 miles away from work, but it took her 45 minutes to get there, either walking or making 2 bus transfers. Her shift started at 5:30 in the morning and she was regularly late. They gave her a bike, and the bike cut her commute down to 20 minutes. Now she was on time, and she could provide for her family. She now had the freedom and hope she could provide and start her lives over. I sent that letter back to the original 40 people that had, donated 12 bikes. Said, hey, want to let you know what happened, our little mission over the holidays. Wanted to thank you all very much for your work. 12 more bikes arrived on my doorstep. I didn't ask for those. Others had the same weird emotional hang-up about getting rid of a bike. And they only got rid of them after they saw the direct, life-changing benefit of the simple gift of a bike. And as Paul Harvey said, that's the rest of the story. I mean, that's how I got here today, 10 years later. And I think that's the secret to transformational outreach. You have to link the donor directly with the recipient. In the example of Chain Reaction Ministries, people had an emotional attachment to the bike. It was their first bike, it was a kid's first bike. It provided greater mobility and freedom than they had had previously. And they just don't want to set it on the curb or donate it to a faceless charity. They want to know that their bike can provide the same freedom and hope to a person in need that they've experienced. And so in that case, it's a vehicle of change, not just a vehicle. So getting bikes out of the garages was the easy part. Share the stories and pictures back to a growing following and membership base, and more bikes arrived at the church, and my phone rang more often with the request to pick up bikes. And that's when God brought us another great resource of bicycles, elementary schools. We found a local elementary school who was doing a recycling day for Earth Day. And we said, hey, this might be a good opportunity for us to try to pick up some used bikes. So we said, hey, we'd love to partner with you. Here's what we're doing. And, we're doing this like one day a month and working out of our garage, and let's see what we can do. And so in 2 hours, we thought maybe we'd get like 35 bikes, but never underestimate the power of PTAs. Because word got out, not from that elementary school, but pretty much all over the west side of Spring Branch ISD. And in 2 hours, we picked up 110 bikes. So, well outgrew my garage. And so it was fantastic. So now we had to fix them up. And mind you, this is just like 4 or 5 guys getting together once a month working on bikes. Now we got 110 bikes that we've got to fix up. And so Memorial Drive Christian Church realized kind of what was going on, and so they volunteered up to Sunday school rooms that were being unused, and we took it over and we made it a bike shop. We had a small volunteer base of men and youth, but we found the bikes are coming in faster than we can get them out to Westside Homeless Partnership and other ministries in the area. And so what we found is that we needed some more horsepower. And that's when God brought us high school students. You're thinking, wait a minute, you're going to get high school students to fix up bikes. But yes, indeed, you can. See, high school students have degree programs like NHS or Boy Scouts, and they need volunteer hours. I need manpower. So we would pair them up on a bike, and believe it or not, those high school students are fully capable now of fixing bikes. I've had kids in the program for over 4 years that couldn't tell you the difference between a screwdriver and a wrench, and now they're changing tires and they're aligning brakes, and they are putting their hands to work. And it's really good for them because they get to learn basic bicycle maintenance, which is a pretty good skill. If you're going to go off to school or work or wherever, and you don't have a car, you need to learn how to fix a bike. So now they know how to fix a bike. And also, more importantly, they get to put their hands to work in the faith of our Lord. And so we fix the bikes together, and then we share the stories of where the bikes went back to the students and the friends, and it's just kind of this ongoing cycle. And so now you have the supply, you have the labor, and now you need the parts. And so the third link in our story is that we partnered with local bike shops, and we found out that they have a real need too, because they have people that come in and buy new bikes, and they have this old bike, they're like, hey, what can you do with this old bike? They're like, well, I can't really fix it up, and I can't really sell a used bike. So they didn't know what to do. Well, now they have an answer. When somebody wants a new bike and they have an old bike, they can just drop it off at the bike store, and then we come pick them up once a month or once every other month. And so it's a way for them to be able to service the community as well, knowing that those used bikes they previously were not going to be able to help find a home for, now they can find a usable home for. And those are really the connections of a transformational outreach program. You have to have the need. In this case, it was basic transportation. The supply, unwanted bikes. The manpower, in this case, church volunteers and high school students. The materials, we had bike shops. And most importantly, the feedback, the stories. That's the only thing that we ask from our partner ministries. This is a ministry. We're not asking for, that you have to pay me every time I give you a bike. But what we want is we want a story of the life that has been changed from the simple gift of that bike. And that's what Chain Reaction Ministries does, is that I think at its core, it creates greater Christ-centered communities between matching the donors and the needs of the community through ministry of bicycle recycling. And so we fix up the bikes we can, and then we recycle the metal and the scrap that we can. And then all the while raising awareness to the need of basic transportation to families in needs. And to date, we've actually created 3 other spokes in Oklahoma City, Baton Rouge, and Bentonville, Arkansas. And we've put back in service over 8,500 bikes in 10 years. And so, the journey and evolution of Chain Reaction Ministries on its own has been fantastic, but I thought it would be good to kind of give you a little background on my faith journey as well. Because, and I'm going to tell that through a little story from Jeff Foxworthy, actually. Okay, you may remember that he had a pretty popular comedy troupe back in the 2000s called the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. And one of the cornerstone of Big Ingvald's line was, "Here's your sign," where he retells stories of people that ask him stupid questions, right? Usually followed by a blatantly obvious answer. And usually he gives a sarcastic response followed by, "Here's your sign." Well, a while back I actually had a "here's your sign" moment. I was in the grocery store and I gathered everything, I put it on the conveyor and was checking out. And the last thing on the item on the list was cat food. So she swipes it and she looks at me and she goes, "Do you have a cat?" "No, I like them because they're crunchy." Here's your sign. You know, sometimes I wish the nudges or signs from God were as simplistic and obvious as that clerk, right? And "Do you have a cat?" "Like a cat." But it would be great if God could just like swoop in and save me from making some bonehead move like forgetting to pick my kid up from school, or even during major events such as a job change, right? Giving you a big "here's your sign." But learning to listen for him takes time and deliberate focus. And that's why Samuel had Eli. You know, more often than not, it's not through lightning bolts and booming voices that God talks to us, but rather from the people and everyday events around us that he uses to talk to us. Rather than like a one-way sign or a stop sign that you're required to follow, think of it more like an advisory sign, the brown ones that tell you like there's a state park coming up, or there's a turn off up ahead. You read the sign, you may even remember that it's there, you may remember what it said, you may not go that way, but it's there. And maybe that sign was somewhere else that God wanted you to go. If not right then, maybe later. Along my journey of faith, there have been a few signs from God. Some quiet and a few like a 2x4 across the head. Here are a few of the ones that I wanted to share with you today that led me to the call to ministry and being with you today. Memorial Drive Christian Church, purchasing those brand new bikes. If not for their generosity and the result of a door being shut on my intended gift, I wouldn't have been left with the burning question of what can I give? Causing me to think about what giving really meant and seeking out others that might have the same need. The feedback from Westside Homeless Partnership. A simple thank you would have been enough. But 3 months later, to give me the story about Irma and the life that had been changed, it set off a spark in me and obviously others that were interested, because the bikes kept coming and people kept coming. The recycle day at Roanoke Creek Elementary, the elementary school. We all know the loaves and fishes story. Well, God provides in abundance, and I just didn't know that it was going to come in the form of bicycles. The Memorial Mustang Outreach Bunch, the volunteer group from the high school. When our adult volunteer attendance was dwindling, God sent us 8 to 10 times as many people, more than doubling our output each month, and letting the students see God's love through transformational outreach. At the end of the Great Recession that lasted from 2009 to 2011, I was asked to leave an engineering firm that I had invested 10 years of my career with, eventually making partner. That following weekend, after having been let go, I had to pull myself together and go on a Cub Scout overnight trip down at the USS Lexington in Corpus Christi. And on the drive back, I had a lot of time to reflect on what had happened and what was going to happen next. And, some might say you might not want to talk to God when you're driving. It could be considered distracted driving, but that was a really good opportunity for me to focus during that time. And all the standard emotions were there when you lose your job. I had denial, I had confusion, I had disdain for my partners, anxiety, stress, and a lot of self-doubt. And as I rode back to myself, Dawson was in the truck in front of me, I started praying. I started processing all the emotions, and in talking to God, I wondered why. Why, in all the chaos, in all the uncertainty, in all the emotions, one was not present. Fear. And no more than 15 seconds down the road, outside of Corpus Christi, was a large hand-painted billboard on the side of the road that said this in letters 5 feet tall: faith is the opposite of fear. That's it. All right. That's my 4 right upside the head. I said, okay, God, I get it. I'm going to try to stop pushing the rope against you. I surrender. As you go through your week, I'd ask you to kind of think and pray about where you are in your walk in faith. Who are the Eli's in your life? What are some of the signs from God that you found along the way? What would happen if we spent some time to listen for Him? My prayer for all of us is that we learn to listen for Him, watch the signs, and let Him lead us. And all God's people said, Amen. You know, God is calling us. He calls us all the time. And He's never going to stop seeking us. We just have to listen. If you hear Him calling you, and you want to commit your life to Him, or if you're looking for a place to continue to serve Him in this house, I'd ask you to come forward and join me as we sing our hymn.